100 years after the first plans were drawn, the harbour bridge is ready for opening. In 1860, a wooden bridge would have cost £16,000. This one cost £6 million. One of the last vehicular ferries to run before the bridge is opened leaves for the North Shore. The ferry Albatross has travelled around the world 21 times, just by crossing and recrossing the harbour. Driving into the Northcote Toll Plaza, the Governor-General Lord Cobham arrives to perform the opening ceremony. On the Northern Freeway, motorists queue for 6 miles, waiting to cross the bridge for the first time.
By the time the Auckland Harbour Bridge was opened on May 30th, 1959, Rotary on the Shore was already 6 years old. Both have become an integral part of the community's life. Here's a snapshot, a taste of Rotary service enriching lives.
It's a privilege and a pleasure to be able to be part of the celebrations of 50 years of Rotary service on the North Shore. On behalf of Rotary International and the Rotarians of District 99010, we congratulate the Takapuna Rotary Club on achieving this milestone in its club's history. The Rotary Clubs of the North Shore recognise that the Takapuna Club are the grandparents of the strong Rotary family that exists on the North Shore. Our World President Jonathan has acknowledged and congratulates Arthur Coombs on his unique presidency. The club has been given the honour of leading the district next year through the appointment of Ken and Margaret Lincoln as the district governors. A significant year as Rotary will celebrate its centenary.
Well, this is where it all began. After 4 years of very hard work by Jack Scour, a previous Rotarian, trying to persuade the Auckland Rotary Club to form a Rotary Club over here. Eventually they gave in, and the proprietor of this hotel, Sid Johnson, was a member of their club, and he asked us here for our organisation meeting. 21 of us met here, and we decided unanimously to all become Rotarians. And would you know, within 5 days we had an unofficial Rotary meeting in Takapuna, our first meeting. And we went on with those weekly meetings for quite some time, in fact almost 3 months before we were given our charter. It's been a very successful club, we've had great fellowship, and this is where it all began, and we're so proud that it began in such an auspicious situation.
One of the first projects for the young Takapuna Club was building a guide and scout den at the end of Jutland Road. Jack Scour was again part of the action. 30 years later, the club went back to repaint the hall. It's still standing and still being used. The young club also helped start the YMCA on the shore and build a swimming pool and gymnasium for Takapuna Grammar. Fundraisings included all the fun of the fair. While the merry-go-round may no longer have the same attraction, there's still plenty of fun to be had and willing helpers ready to wave their wand or dance for a buck or two. That early spirit was catching. By 1955, Birkenhead wanted its own club, and it gained its charter in 1957. Takapuna's helped establish Wellsford, Devonport, Milford and Takapuna North. In turn, these clubs have helped form another 11, bringing the Harbourside family to 18. They've been involved in some big projects, like the Devonport Wine and Food Festival, which has raised around $1.4 million in its 14 years of life.
Despite the weather, there was a good turnout for last weekend's Food and Wine Festival at Devonport. I took the opportunity to sample some of the new releases from New Zealand's top winemakers. Now, I thought I'd start off with Nobelow's award-winning 1991 Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. And how much is this a bottle?
It retails in New Zealand for about $13.
$13?
$13.
What a bargain.
It is. It's good wine.
Case. Cheers.
Cheers. Good luck.
Thank you. Obviously a very complex wine. What about a Chardonnay? Now I hear the Shingle Peak isn't a bad draw.
It's a young wine, so it's still fairly assertive in its acids and its oak. So it needs a little bit more time to sort of soften out.
Ah, the Lombarda. I think this deserves a drink. Bubbly maybe. Montana Dirts will do the trick. Let's top things off with a full-bodied red. Well, I'm actually a closet fan of red wine. This one smells great. Tim, what is this red I'm looking at here?
It's Harry Array's Cabernet Sauvignon.
Some projects have longevity, even though they may not have entertainment's popularity. One such project that is still running successfully today is Abilities. In 1959, Takapuna charter member Jack Anderson adapted an idea from Long Island in the United States, creating employment for the disabled. Des Waite, who was paralysed in a diving accident, evolved from its first worker to become the leading light in its development and management. Today it's located in its third home, a spacious factory in Glenfield, and has a second branch in West Auckland. It handles packaging and assembly of electrical fittings and electronic componentry. Abilities is just one example of thousands of like-minded projects that North Shore clubs have fostered during the 50 years. Another is Fern Glen. These native plant gardens in Kauri Road, Birkenhead, cover 9 acres, with about half an acre under cultivation and specialty alpine and offshore island plant gardens. The property, which was in the Fisher family for 100 years before being purchased by Birkenhead City Council in 1989, has been used for education and research since the 1920s. When current resident Muriel Fisher needed help to provide modern teaching facilities, the Birkenhead Club made it a 40th anniversary project.
And you see, it's quite a distorted looking thing.
Very twisted, isn't it?
Yes, very twisted.
Well, Muriel, this began in 1950, and you've carried on until mid-1990s when Rotary became involved, and you wanted a facility for education to teach school children about your wonderful native plants here. So Rotary came and built this building that you've got here behind you, and now children of all ages come and are educated on native fauna.
That's right, and we hope also in the future to embrace the Polytech students from Polytechs and other institutional places to bring their students here as well.
Getting back to nature has been a favourite pastime of many Rotarians. Have you heard the fishing stories? But it's been the theme for more serious fundraisers and educational initiatives like Trees for Survival, where the late Brian Bendel encouraged young Kiwis to replant what his axe had plundered 70 years before. And like the Seeds for Love, where school pupils grow pots of pansies to give away.
Quite sure, but I think New Zealand. It's native flax. Yeah. Look at this. Well, it feels like I've planted about 1,000 trees.
The Seeds of Love program began from a brainstorming session that we had on the way back from a PETS program. When we took the Seeds of Love theme for the year that Beach-Eye Radical, our international president, had set us, and the challenge he gave to Rotary to raise $80 million US dollars worldwide. Our challenge was to produce our funds from our club, and we came up with this project where we would take into the schools a pot, some pansy seeds, and ask the children to grow the pansies and give them away to somebody that they loved. One of the greatest fun that we had from a club's perspective was indeed putting together our pots and our potting mix and the seeds, and the club really came together, had a real ball where we worked in the garage and put together the potting mix and the seeds, and it was a great fellowship occasion, really brought the club together. We had a lot of fun doing it, and the program has been successful. We've been into many primary schools on the North Shore, and we'll be taking it to other schools around, and we'll be collecting the money that we raise, asking the dollar from the kids for these, and it will be used to rid the world of polio. Whereas in 1985, 1,000 children a day were dying of polio. Now we've got it down to 200 a year, and we're looking forward to reducing it altogether, eliminating it in total.
The youth musical extravaganza at Wilson Home has become an integral part of the North Shore Arts calendar since its Rotarian Murray Crockett inspired its beginning back in 1995.
Mike Barry with Justin. Pete Cronshaw with Chris, America's Cup tactician Brad Butterworth with Jay, Olympic swimmer Paul Kent with August, and Richard Kuhn from Sovereign with Oliver. Lillian Leah Barry, Queenie April, Justin Mike Barry, Chris with Pete Cronshaw, Jay with Brad Butterworth, August with Paul Kent, and Oliver with Richard Kuhn. And the North Shore Youth Orchestra, conducted by Christine Peake. Magnificent!
Young people are a special focus. The Model United Nations Assembly, DARE Drug Education, Genesis Science Project, Soapbox Derby, and an annual secondary schools debate, to name a few. Helping youth grow and reach their potential is a consistent theme for Shore Rotarians.
Over the many years that I have been involved in Rotary, by far the most rewarding project has been my involvement with overseas international exchangees. It's now nearly 40 years since we had our first exchangee from America, and since that time all the Rotary Clubs on the North Shore have received and sent hundreds of exchangees all over the world, and right here we have three of the best examples of those who have left our shores, Neil, Christy and Scott, who respectively have been to America, Europe and Scott to America.
Eric Granger has touched lives of people all over the world, an international community Rotary on the Shore has been part of for 50 years. In the next 50, that spirit, fellowship and contribution will certainly continue.
50 years have gone by extraordinarily quickly. The world has changed, but so has Rotary. Indeed, Rotary has grown on the shore. From one member in 1950, we are now 18 members here, and 11 of those are in the North Shore city itself. We keep in great contact with one another. It's an extraordinary thing to be sharing Rotary with 11 other clubs in our own district. We have great fellowship. We have extraordinary number of different type of races in our club. We have immigrants from overseas who have brought a new culture to our club with great advantage. We have women members who have been officers of the club, and indeed the future looks very bright. We look to greater projects than ever before. Indeed, we've heard, of course, of Rotary, its achievements with Polio Plus and with the eradication of malaria throughout the world. There are other greater projects ahead, and we will work in that direction together.